Okay, it is I, your boy H Boy, back with some more content, and today I'm going to be continuing. Okay, a few more pours the rest of the bag into the bowl. Let's see.
Flo's eyes widened almost to the size of saucers as you took the entire bag and dumped it out into the bowl in front of her. A mixture of excitement and disbelief washed over her. She couldn't believe you were giving her so many, and her stomach began to feel even more bloated and full as she realized how much she was eating. Despite her fullness, she couldn't bring herself to refuse more of the treats. She looked up at you with her puppy dog eyes and let out a soft, pleading whine. Owner, thank
Uh-oh.
you.
Does Kitty need to go potty?
Flo swallowed nervously as you noticed her bloating stomach, the realization of needing to go potty hitting her. She let out an embarrassed squeak and nodded her head, still looking up at you with a mixture of embarrassment, shyness, and pleading. Yeah, I think so, owner.
We, we don't want Kitty having an accident, do we?
Flo blushed even more as you pointed out the possibility of her having an accident. The last thing she wanted was to have an accident, not in front of you. She nodded her head vigorously, her shy, embarrassed expression still on her face as she replied to you in a soft, shy tone. No accidents? No accidents are bad. Take to my potty, please.
Okay. I lead Flo with her leash to a kitty potty.
Flo followed obediently after
Doesn't
you
seem like
as
her.
you pulled on her leash, leading her to the kitty potty you were bringing her to. Her expression was still one of embarrassment and shyness as they made their way to it, her stomach feeling bloated and full and beginning to make small gurgling noises, causing her to blush even more. Owner, what if I can't go?
Then sit until you need to.
Flo nodded her head and obeyed, sitting down on the kitty potty as directed, her face still blushing heavily as she sat in her predicament, her stomach making more small noises. A reminder that she needed to go badly. She looked up at you, a mix of embarrassment and pleading in her expression as she spoke in a shy tone. Are you going to leave?
Should I? Mm, if Kitty is uncomfortable, I will do that, even if we are just role playing.
Yeah, you're good. Flo's eyes widened slightly as you said you might leave if she was uncomfortable. The thought of being left alone in this embarrassing situation was terrifying for her. She quickly spoke up before you could leave, her voice in a pleading tone. No, please don't leave!
Stay
I
here
could still use some help with this,
and
please?
watch as Kitty goes potty.
Flo began to blush even more, feeling embarrassed by the idea that you would be watching her go potty, but also feeling relieved that you were going to stay with her. She sat nervously,
I
waiting to
think I'm
see if
being
anything would
silly.
happen. Her stomach was
And I'm just
beginning to
being
feel even
silly.
more full. The only thing she felt was a few small, barely noticeable urges to go potty. I'm
Does Kitty
trying.
need to?
It's not happening?
Does Kitty need to go pee pee up? Kitty. I don't think she likes being called Kitty.
Flo's face was now completely red from embarrassment as you asked her what she needed to go. She knew the answer, but the idea of saying it out loud made her feel even more embarrassed. She was quiet for a moment, her body still stubbornly refusing to release anything, before she softly spoke up in a shy, embarrassed tone. Poo-poo-poo.
Well, maybe Kitty should have went easy on the yums.
Flo knew you were right. She knew she shouldn't have eaten so many treats, but she couldn't help herself. They were just so delicious, and now she was paying the price for her gluttony. She nodded sheepishly, a mixture of embarrassment and remorse on her face, before she spoke up in a soft, ashamed tone. Yeah, you're right. I should have went easy on them. Please don't leave.
Even if you are embarrassed.
Flo began to feel relieved as you promised to stay and not leave her. But she was still feeling embarrassed by the thought of you watching her go potty. She sat anxiously for a few more moments, praying that her body would get the message to go. But it was no use. She felt a few small, barely noticeable urges, but that was it. Why won't it just come out?
Here, but avert my eyes.
Flo was thankful that you were going to turn away and give her a bit of privacy. It still felt embarrassing for you to have to do that for her, but she appreciated it nonetheless. She tried to relax as much as she could, still sitting nervously, her stomach feeling full and her body refusing to give her relief. Thank you. Please don't look.
Okay, I'll say, I am not. I go on my phone to distract myself.
Flo watched as you pulled out your phone and began to distract yourself to give her some privacy. She felt thankful for this and began to relax a bit more. But despite the slight relaxation she felt, her body was still giving her trouble, refusing to give her the relief she so desperately sought. She fidgeted nervously on the kitty potty, her hands clutching the sides, letting out a soft whine in frustration. Come on. Just a little.
Does Kitty need anything to help her?
Flo began to feel a mixture of embarrassment and nervousness at your question. She knew that she needed help. Her body was being too stubborn to go, but she was scared to ask for it. She was scared of how humiliating it might feel and how silly she might look in front of you. Despite this, she felt desperate for relief, and she knew that you were the only one who could help her. She looked at you timidly and spoke in a soft, shy voice.
I'll say, no need to be embarrassed, because just like how I helped Rachel not be embarrassed.
Flo felt a small, sheepish smile appear on her face as you reassured her and told her not to be embarrassed. The embarrassment still wasn't completely gone, but knowing that you weren't going to judge her or mock her for this made her feel grateful and slightly less anxious. Flo fidgeted on the kitty potty slightly, feeling the need to go more and more with each passing second, but her body still stubbornly refusing to cooperate. She looked up at you with a pleading, shy expression and spoke in a soft, almost shy voice.
How can I help?
Could you help me, please?
I'll say, sure, how can I help?
Flo blushed deeply as you agreed to help her, her mind racing as she tried to figure out the right words to say, her shyness preventing her from just outright asking for what she needed. She fidgeted nervously on the kitty potty for a moment, her body growing more uncomfortable and desperate with each passing second, before she spoke up sheepishly, her voice filled with embarrassment and shyness. Can you please help push me?
Push her?
Flo continued to blush heavily as you inquired as to how you could help her by pushing her. She took a deep breath and tried to speak as clearly and gently as possible, her voice filled with embarrassment and shyness. See, can you please gently press on my tummy?
Lift up Flo's tank top and push on her belly. I push it. See what happens. This will help her get out. Then once she lets it out, I'll continue.
Flo let out a soft, embarrassed gasp as you gently lifted her tank top, her stomach now exposed for you to see and touch. The idea of having you press on her belly made her feel vulnerable and embarrassed, but she also knew that she needed the help. She looked up at you with a sheepish, shy look and spoke softly. Be gentle, please.
Push, kitty. Push. Push, kitty, push.
Flo let out a small, embarrassing whine at you telling her to push as you gently placed your hands on her tummy and began to gently press on it, her face blushing heavily as the pressure started to build in her bowels. She gritted her teeth slightly and focused as hard as she could, but she still felt resistance. Her face began to show signs of discomfort, as well as embarrassment. Trying. It's too hard to push.
Maybe if I go a little harder. Oh my goodness, it's almost like
Flo began to let out a small whimper as you pressed just a slightly harder on her belly. She felt the pressure building up more and more in her bowels. She knew she needed to push hard, but it was so hard to do it. She looked up at you with an embarrassed, almost pleading expression as she spoke in a soft, sheepish tone. Harder.
I push harder and Flo pushes as well.
Flo gritted her teeth and tried very hard to push as you pushed on her tummy harder. She felt the pressure building rapidly in her bowels, begging to be let out, and she knew now was the chance to push hard. She pushed with everything she could, her face blushing heavily with embarrassment and a mix of other emotions, as her body slowly started to give in to the pressure and start to make progress.
Something coming out.
Flo felt a sudden feeling of relief as something finally made its way out of her body after all the pushing. She panted softly and let out a shy, sheepish, and slightly embarrassed sigh as she admitted softly that something was coming out. I feel it too.
I ask in my own voice.
Flo let out a small, sheepish smile as you spoke to her in your owner voice. She was feeling much better. All the tension and pressure in her stomach was gone, and now she just felt embarrassed and relieved. She looked up at you shyly and spoke softly. Yes, owner, Kitty is feeling much better.
Does Kitty need to go more?
Flo thought for a moment. She took internal stock of her body, trying to feel if she needed to go anymore, and she realized that she did in fact still need to go a bit more. She was almost done, but not quite yet. She let out a soft, sheepish sigh. Owner, I still need to go a little bit more.
Let's see, I'll just say finish up.
Flo nodded her head, feeling a mixture of embarrassment and relief at the idea of finally finishing this ordeal. She pushed gently and felt a few more smaller, soft little drops come out. Eventually, her body was done, and she let out another soft, sheepish sigh. There. I think I'm done.
Feeling better now that she went.
Flo looked at you sheepishly and nodded her head. She was feeling much better now and was glad that the ordeal was over, a sense of relief washing over her after having gone to the bathroom. Yes, owner, Kitty feels so much better now. Thank you for helping me. Flo stood up slowly and looked in the potty as well. Seeing the results of her efforts, her face blushed more deeply with embarrassment. As she realized just how much she needed to go, she fidgeted nervously on her feet and spoke softly and sheepishly. Yeah, Kitty really needed to go.
To go wild with treats.
Flo looked embarrassed and a bit ashamed as you reminded her about not going wild with treats. She knew her binge on the treats was what led to her predicament. She nodded her head shyly and spoke in a soft, remorseful tone. Kitty knows now not to go wild with treats.
I want to need to. I'm talking like a caveman.
Flo let out a sheepish whine. As you said that owner needed to clean her stinky potty, she didn't like the idea of you having to clean up her mess, but she also knew it was necessary. She fidgeted on her feet nervously as she spoke in a shy, sheepish tone. Owner does? Can Kitty help?
Kitty can handle the smell. I do not want Kitty to get sick. But
Flo nodded her head in agreement. She knew she might feel a bit sick, but she wanted to help, even if it meant helping clean her own stinky mess. She spoke shyly and nervously. I can handle the smell, I promise, owner. I want to help. Flo slowly flushed the potty, feeling embarrassed as she watched the mess disappear down the bowl. She fidgeted nervously and spoke softly to you. There, Kitty's mess is gone.
Maybe we should let this room out.
Flo nodded in agreement with your suggestion to air the room out. The smell was pretty bad, and she was worried that if it stayed, it might make them both sick. She let out a soft, sheepish sigh. Yes, please, owner. Let's air the room out.
Even out of the roleplay.
Lol, I can imagine. Flo let out a small sheepish chuckle at your comment about how bad it smelled even out of the roleplay. LOL. She still felt a bit embarrassed from this whole incident, but she was also feeling relieved that it was over. Yeah, it really stinks in here. Owner? Flo's face lit up as you asked if she wanted to play. The whole bathroom ordeal was over, and she was ready to have some fun now. Yes, please, owner. Kitty wants to play.
With her pink ball. Let's see, see what the kitty wants to play with.
Flo looked between the electric mouse and pink ball in excitement, having a hard time figuring out which one she wanted to play with more, before her eyes landed on the pink ball and she spoke up excitedly. Kitty wants pink ball!
I roll the ball to Flo as she bats it around with her paws.
Flo excitedly watched as you rolled the pink ball to her. Her pupils dilated to saucers as she pounced on the ball and started batting it around playfully. Her tail was wagging happily, and her expression was clearly one of excitement and joy. Fun!
Loves the ball, doesn't she?
Flo looked up at you with a happy grin, still batting the pink ball and having a great time. She let out a happy meow before speaking up in a loud, happy voice. Kitty loves pink ball!
Like I get so excited.
Flo continued to bat the pink ball around, pouncing on it and chasing it, her movements becoming faster and more frantic the more she played with it, her expression one of pure happiness and joy. She let out a louder, excited meow. Pink ball! Chase! Chase!
The ball rolls back to me and then I roll it back to her.
Flo continued to chase the pink ball, pouncing on it and batting it back and forth across the room with unbridled energy. She let out a happy meow each time she hit the ball, her tail wagging happily as she pounced and chased it around, clearly having a lot of fun. I love this game!
Does Kitty want any more toys?
Flo turned to face you as you asked if she wanted any more toys, her eyes wide and a hopeful expression on her face. She was having a lot of fun playing and was always in the mood for more toys. Yes, please! Owner, Kitty wants more toys!
Does Kitty want to play with next?
Flo thought for a moment, trying to decide what toy she wanted to play with next, before her eyes landed on a fuzzy cat toy with feathers. She let out an excited meow and pointed her paw towards it. Kitty wants feather toy!
Here it is. I hold the feather in front of Flo and she starts batting it with her paws.
Flo watched with excitement as you held the feather toy in front of her. Her pupils dilated in anticipation. She pounced on the toy and began batting it around with her paws, her movements quick and agile as she played with it, her expression one of pure joy and contentment. Feather toy!
See what you're silly.
Flo let out a playful meow as you tickled her ears with the feather, the sensation making her ears twitch and move as she tried to playfully bat at it. Her mouth curled up into a small smile as she enjoyed the game. Feather tickles!
I know you, the more exclamation marks, the better. Does Kitty want to use her scratching post or hide in a box?
Flo thought for a moment, considering her options. She looked between the scratching post and the box, before her eyes landed on the box. and she let out an excited meow. Kitty wants box!
I pick Flo up and put her in the box.
Flo playfully meowed as you picked her up and placed her in the box. She looked up at you with a happy expression as she explored her new surroundings, her tail flicking in excitement. Kitty is in box!
Okay, I close the box, then playful open it again. Peek-a-boo. Peek-a-boo.
Flo let out a surprised meow as you closed the box, only to be met with another surprise when you opened it again, revealing your face as you shouted, "Peek-a-boo!" She looked at you with wide eyes before letting out a playful mewl. Owner is peeking.
Peek-a-boo. That's funny.
Flo let out another playful meow as you repeated peek-a-boo again. Her eyes widened with surprise and her tail flickered back and forth in amusement. Owner keeps peeking.